The rain drummed steadily against the windshield of the black luxury sedan as 39-year-old Marcus Wellington drove through the winding country roads after the charity gala. His black tuxedo was impeccable, his dark hair perfectly styled despite the late hour, and his expensive watch glinted in the dashboard lights. As CEO of Wellington Industries, Marcus was accustomed to evenings filled with networking and social obligations, but tonight had felt particularly hollow and meaningless. Beside him in the passenger seat, his business partner's wife, Victoria, dozed fitfully. She had been feeling unwell throughout the evening, and Marcus had offered to drive her home when her husband needed to stay behind for additional meetings. Her elegant cream-colored dress was now wrinkled from the long evening, and her blonde hair had come loose from its careful styling. The drive should have been routine, but as they rounded a sharp curve on the isolated highway, Marcus's headlights illuminated something that made him immediately slow the vehicle. A broken-down car sat abandoned on the shoulder, its hazard lights blinking weakly in the darkness. Standing near the disabled vehicle was a small figure that made Marcus's heart clench with concern. A little girl, perhaps 6 years old, wearing a simple dress that was now soaked through from the rain. Her long hair hung wet around her shoulders, and she was waving frantically at passing cars, though most were simply speeding by without stopping. Marcus pulled over immediately, his business instincts temporarily forgotten in the face of a child in obvious distress. As he stepped out of his car, the little girl ran toward him with desperate relief. "Please, sir," she said, her voice trembling with cold and fear. "My mama is really sick, and our car stopped working. I tried to flag down other cars, but nobody would stop to help us." Marcus knelt down to her eye level, his heart breaking at the sight of this brave child trying to protect her mother. "What is your name, sweetheart?" "I am Emma," she replied, wiping rain from her face. "My mama's name is Sarah, and she has been feeling really bad all day. She is too weak to get out of the car to ask for help, so I have been trying to get someone to stop." Marcus looked toward the broken-down vehicle and could see a figure slumped in the driver's seat. Without hesitation, he scooped Emma up and carried her toward her mother's car, protecting her from the worst of the rain with his tuxedo jacket. When he reached the vehicle, Marcus peered through the window and felt his blood run cold. The woman inside appeared to be unconscious, her face pale and her breathing shallow. This was clearly a medical emergency that required immediate attention. "Emma, sweetheart," Marcus said gently, "your mama needs to get to a hospital right away. I am going to help her into my car, and we are going to get her the medical care she needs." Emma nodded with the solemn trust that children sometimes place in adults who show genuine kindness. "Will she be okay? She has been sick for a really long time, but we could not afford to go to the doctor." Marcus felt his throat tighten at the implication of Emma's words. Here was a family that had been struggling with serious illness without access to proper medical care, and a little girl who had been trying desperately to save her mother's life. With careful movements, Marcus managed to lift Sarah from her car and carry her to his sedan. Victoria, now fully awake and aware of the emergency, immediately moved to help make space and provide what comfort she could. Emma climbed in beside her mother, holding her hand and whispering reassurances. The drive to the nearest hospital took 25 minutes that felt like hours. Marcus pushed his vehicle as fast as he dared on the rain-slicked roads while Victoria called ahead to alert the emergency room staff. Emma sat quietly beside her unconscious mother, displaying a maturity and strength that was both heartbreaking and inspiring. At the hospital, Marcus carried Sarah into the emergency room while Emma held tightly to his hand. The medical team immediately took over, whisking Sarah into treatment while a nurse gently led Emma to a waiting area. "Sir," Emma said to Marcus as they sat together in the brightly lit waiting room, "I do not have any money to pay for the doctors. Mama always says we have to pay for things ourselves, but I do not know how to do that." Marcus looked down at this remarkable little girl who was worried about medical bills while her mother fought for her life. "Emma, you do not need to worry about money right now. The most important thing is making sure your mama gets better." Over the next several hours, Marcus learned more about Emma and Sarah's situation. Sarah was a single mother who worked 2 jobs to support herself and Emma, but a serious infection had left her increasingly weak and unable to afford medical treatment. They had been driving to Sarah's sister's house, hoping to find help, when their old car finally broke down. When the doctor finally emerged with news, it was sobering but hopeful. Sarah has a severe kidney infection that has progressed to early stages of sepsis, he explained. If you had not brought her in tonight, the outcome could have been very different. She is going to need several days of intensive treatment, but we expect her to make a full recovery. Emma burst into tears of relief, and Marcus found himself holding this brave little girl who had quite literally saved her mother's life through her determination and courage. Over the following days, as Sarah slowly recovered, Marcus found himself deeply involved in their lives. He arranged for their car to be repaired, ensured that all medical bills were covered, and most importantly, spent time getting to know Emma and her remarkable mother. "I do not understand why you are helping us," Sarah said weakly from her hospital bed. "We are complete strangers, and you owe us nothing." Marcus thought carefully about his answer. "Your daughter taught me something important that night. She showed me that real courage is not about business deals or board meetings. It is about a 6-year-old girl standing in the rain, refusing to give up on someone she loves." When Sarah was finally released from the hospital, Marcus made an offer that surprised even himself. "I would like to offer you a position managing the employee wellness program at Wellington Industries. It would provide good insurance coverage, stable hours, and the opportunity to help other families avoid the kind of crisis you faced." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you do this for us?" Marcus smiled, thinking of how much his perspective had changed since that rainy night. "Because Emma reminded me that the most important measure of success is not what we accumulate for ourselves, but how we respond when others need our help." 6 months later, as Marcus watched Emma play in the garden behind Sarah's new house, he reflected on how a chance encounter on a dark highway had transformed his understanding of what truly mattered in life. Emma had not only saved her mother that night, she had saved Marcus from a life of empty achievements and hollow social obligations. She had shown him that real wealth comes from using whatever resources we have to lift up others in their time of greatest need. And Sarah had proven that strength and dignity are not diminished by accepting help when it is offered with genuine compassion and respect. The night that began with a charity gala had ended with Marcus discovering the true meaning of charity: the willingness to see the humanity in others and respond with immediate, unconditional assistance when circumstances demand nothing less than our very best selves.